Pataya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatadishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Dora Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Dora Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Radha Radhe Jai Radha Madhava Radhe Jai Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jai Jai Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Privaracharya Asata Sara Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Privaracharya Asata Sara Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nam Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sako Harsha Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya ki jai. Yamuna Maya ki jai. Gopramanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatadya Satarine. Dear devotees, we'll be reading today from the light of the Bhagavat, carrying on with our series, and we're going to speak on analogy 35 and read Prabhupada's purport thereafter. So it goes as follows, analogy 35, light of the Bhagavat. When the small pools of water become too hot because of the scorching heat of the autumn sun, the poor small creatures with their many family members suffer terribly, as poor householders with too many family members suffer economic strains and yet go on begetting children because of uncontrolled senses. So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Human life is meant for controlling the senses, for uncontrolled senses are the cause of material bondage. But for fools, sense enjoyment is a pivot of life's activities. All men undergo hard, laborious duties all day and night in all seasons of the year, only for the sake of sense pleasure with their mates. The foolish creatures have no information of other enjoyment in the godless civilization, especially people sense pleasure accepted in the name of culture and philosophy is all in all. Men who are addicted to this pleasure are called kripanas. When kripanas have too many children, they suffer scorching heat of family life, and then similar leaders advise them to undertake family planning. The idea of this family planning is that sense pleasure should not be curtailed, but birth control should be accomplished by artificial measures. Such methods of birth control are called Bhruna Hatya, or killing the child in embryo. Such killing is a sinful act, and in the revealed scriptures, a specific hell is designated for those who commit such sins. Spiritual culture means pursuing a better entanglement in life. Spiritual culture means pursuing a better entanglement in life. When a man engages in such cultural life, the desire for mating automatically abates the sufferings of uncontrolled family life, are mitigated without artificial means. The attention of a human being, therefore, should be drawn to the cultivation of the human spirit, for this will gradually protect him from all sorts of discomfiture and elevate him to the higher status of life. For real and eternal enjoyment in personal contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So, dear devotees, this purport is actually loaded, right? Prabhupada is being very heavy in this purport. And we see this going all around us. People are after sense pleasure. And, so what more can be said about this? This is, you just look out of your window or you just take a walk, to the store or to the mall, and you see this all over, right? That people are busy working so hard just to enjoy some sense pleasure. So we see here that Prabhupada is stating the facts, and he's not beating around the bush. He's simply stating what's in scripture for our benefit. In some traditions and religions, the facts are swept under the carpet because people want to enjoy without restrictions. And this will actually lead them to hellish life. So people need to be aware of these facts and take responsibility for their actions. Only the Bhakti Shastris will give 100% facts as it is, without being distorted by unscrupulous commentators. That knowledge which is coming down in the line of the cyclic succession, as Krishna spoke it, right? So this knowledge that Prabhupada is actually giving to us is coming from the previous acharyas who have realized this knowledge as Krishna has spoken, and it's handed down to us without being adulterated. So therefore Prabhupada is like, he's so heavy on the subject of sense gratification and enjoying our senses. Our senses are uncontrolled in this Kali, age of Kali. Whatever the senses demand, we want to feed it that, the food of sense pleasure. So as you can see in the picture, right, the five senses are there and they're going wild. And the mind is actually, is the reins of this. You see the five horses there. The soul is a passenger, right? The intelligence is the driver, and the mind is the reins. So, like this, we need to control our mind. We need to control our senses, right? And we see that Prabhupada is saying, how people are immersed in enjoying in this material world, and we see all around us that this is so true. People are working hard for sense gratification and for sex pleasure. They don't think of what the real goal of life is. They think that this is the goal of life. Let me enjoy. Like the popular saying is, let me enjoy to the max, for I only live once. They don't have any information about afterlife, and even if they have, they push it aside, and basically they will have to go through the consequences of their actions, right? So they say no, hell is actually meant for a certain class of people who do not follow their particular path, right? But we see that the Vedic scriptures give detailed information about everything, the different types of hell, for different the sins one commits. Like in this purport, Prabhupada is saying that there's a specific sin, there's a specific hell for a person who commits what do you call it? Bruna Hatya. Can you just read that again? Can I go there? Yeah, he says Bruna Hatya, killing the child in the embryo. So this is there's a certain type of hell for that. And then actually the Vedic scriptures gives us so much of detailed information about the heavenly planets, right, where people can enjoy better than what we enjoy on this earthly planet, right? In heaven, there's so much of facilities, more to enjoy, like beautiful women, opulences that seem like fairy tales, right? Like a floating city in the air with palatial buildings and natural water features, gardens and parks, right? So this is like beyond us, right? But when one can aspire to go to heaven, but when one's piety is exhausted, then he has to come back to this earthly plane. So Prabhupada says, what's the use of going there, to enjoy all these sense pleasures when, you will have to come back here again to this material world. Better to follow the process of bhakti and go back to the spiritual realm. Right, and the Vedic scriptures also gives us information about the spiritual world. So we won't go into that, but I was listening to a lecture by His Holiness Indradumna Swami, and there he says that Jiva Goswami actually says that curtailing enjoyment in samsara brings the highest enjoyment. So what does this mean? It means that, if by us restricting our enjoyment through our senses in this world, right, of repeated birth and death, samsara, repeated birth and death, it brings us the highest enjoyment or eternal enjoyment in the spiritual realm. So scriptures tells us to live a life of purity by restricting our senses, especially sex indulgence. In the Nectar of Devotion, there's a nice verse, Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Etan Vegam, Dharapasta Vegam. So it says that a sober person who can tolerate the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals can make disciples all over the world. So it starts with the tongue. Right? We need to control the tongue first. What we speak, we need to chant, right? Chant the holy names of Krishna so we don't speak nonsense. And read scripture, taste Krishna prasadam. So in this way, the tongue, belly, and genitals, you'll find that it's in a straight line. Right? When the tongue is controlled, then the belly is controlled, and then the genitals are automatically controlled. So it all starts with the tongue, right? To chant the holy names of Krishna and to eat Krishna prasadam. So in this way, all our senses can be regulated, can be controlled. So I just want to read something to you from the Madhurya Kadambini on devotional service, right? This is on page 5, the first wave or the first shower. It goes by showers. So it's the first shower. And here it is being stated. I'll just read the Sanskrit, which is short. It's not very long. Dhana vrata tapo homa japa swadhyaya sammayam Shreyobhi vividhais chanye Krishna bhakti hisidhyate. Translation: devotional service unto Lord Krishna is attained by charity. Devotional service unto Krishna is attained by charity, strict vows, austerities, fire sacrifice, japa, study of Vedic texts, observance of regulative principles, and indeed the performance of many other auspicious practices. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-24. This statement, however, refers to bhakti in the material mode of goodness, sattvika bhakti, which acts as a limb of the system of jnana, rather than the transcendental, fully spiritual bhakti as a limb of prema, nirguna prema bhakti, Of course, some people say charity means giving to Vishnu and the Vaishnavas. Vrata or austerity means vratas on Ekadasi, and tapas means renouncing sense pleasure to attain the Lord. So here we see the tapas, austerity, actually means renouncing sense pleasures to attain the Lord. Thus, they are all angas of the limbs of sadhana bhakti. To say one attains bhakti by these angas is not wrong, for this simply means sadhana bhakti causes sadhya bhakti, perfected. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.31. And then we go on to another verse. The Sanskrit is quite long, so I'm just going to read these verses to you. We have 10 minutes, so I hope in 10 minutes I can actually read these verses. They're such beautiful verses glorifying devotional service to Krishna. So here, this is taken out from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 4. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the unrivaled path of self-realization. If someone gives up that path and engages in the cultivation of speculative knowledge, he will simply undergo a troublesome process and will not achieve the desired result. As a person who beats an empty husk of rice cannot get grain, one who simply speculates cannot achieve self-realization. His only gain is trouble. So that's a beautiful verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we'll read the next verse now from the Madhurya Kadambini. These verses are quoted to show the exalted position of devotional service and bhakti, right? So this is from Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 17. One who has forsaken his material occupation to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in dharma, does not gain anything. And the next verse I want to read to you is from the 10th canto, 14th chapter, text 5. Pure Brahman Bhavopi Yoginas Tad Arpitaha Nija Karma Labdhyaya Vibhujya Bhakcheva Kathopanistaya Prapedhire Nijo Yukta Prapedhire Nyochutate Gatimbaram. O Almighty Lord, in the past, many yogis in this world achieved the platform of devotional service only after offering all their endeavors unto you. Such devotional service perfected by the process of hearing and chanting about you, they came to understand you, O infallible one, and could easily surrender to you and achieve your supreme abode. So this verse confirms that the path of jnana and karma and yoga are completely dependent on bhakti to achieve their results. The path of bhakti, however, is never dependent, even in the slightest way, on karma, jnana, or yoga to achieve its result, prema. Rather, the Lord declares, Tasmad madbhakti yukshaya yogina va mad atmana na jnanam na cha vairagyam parashrayo bhavet. Thus, for a devotee engaged in my loving service, with mind fixed on me, jnana and vairagya are not generally beneficial to achieve perfection in this world. The next verse I'd like to read is taken out from the 11th canto, 11th chapter, 32. Dharma santaya sanyajya ya sarvan madbhajete satu satamat maha. He who gives up all paths and worships me is the best among men. These are so many other verses prove that prove the complete independence of bhakti. What more can be said? Bhakti is essential to give results in the practice of karma, jnana, and yoga, but bhakti itself is not even the least contingent on these practices for its own result, the scriptures state. All that is accomplished by karma, tapas, jnana, vairagya, yoga, charity, and other religious duties for perfecting life is easily attained by my devotee through devotional service alone. If somehow or the other my devotee desires promotion to heaven, liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily attains such benedictions. So here, devotees, we've been reading these beautiful verses from the Madhurya Kadambini, glorifying Bhakti Yoga. So actually, to control the senses, all we need to do is hear and chant about Krishna and, follow the four regulative principles of freedom, right? No illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, and no gambling. And, will achieve purity, right? So here there's another verse that is talking about the purity of the heart, and it goes as follows: Manchohina sarvato varnto va mitya paryukto namam artam iha yatendra satcho swacharo pradatat Savago Vajro Yagyamana Hinaste. If a mantra is atoned or pronounced incorrectly, not only will the mantra be ineffective, but it may act as a thunderbolt for a person for whose benefit the sacrifice is done, as when Twasta wanted to create the enemy Indra, he slightly mispronounced the word Indra Shatru in the Yagya. Those words then worked as a thunderbolt for Vitrasura, who was killed by Indra. So the purport here is the necessity of internal purity of the heart for the practice of Jnana Yoga is well known. Purity of heart arises from practice of karma yoga without personal desire. Thus, entrance in jnana yoga is even dependent on nishkam karma yoga. And if by accident one who practices jnana yoga commits even a small unworthy act, durachar, Shastra condemns him as vanatasi or vantasi, an eater of vomit. Saivavantasya apachapa. When seen in this light, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, and Ravan, though they were jnanis, have not even a speck of fame on this account because of their conduct. On the other hand, on the path of bhakti, though one may be afflicted by lust, one has the qualification, adhikar, to begin the practice. Just by the practice of bhakti, lust and other impurities are destroyed. So we see that devotees, the whole world is revolving around lust. And it's so difficult to actually get rid of this. But when one engages in pure devotional service to the Lord, then, the lusty desires are wiped out. Like here, there's a verse: anyone who faithfully chants about the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan, having attained the Lord's pure devotional service, he quickly becomes sober and conquers lust, the disease of the heart. So here it is being described that by the sense of the word pratibhalabhya, having attained, it is clear that bhakti first manifests while there is still lusty desires in the heart. Then after her manifestation, lusty desires are wiped out. This is due to bhakti being supremely independent, parama svatantra. Furthermore, though such impurities as karma may sometimes appear in the devotee, the scriptures declare, right? This verse is from the Bhagavad Gita. Api set suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadhur eva cha mantasya samyak vyasito hi saha. And the translation goes as follows: even if a person engaged in devotional service commits the most abominable act, sudurachara, he is still considered saintly. So we see that, sometimes devotees may go offline, but still they're considered saintly because they have bhakti within the heart. They have love, some type of love and devotion for Krishna. So this is how powerful bhakti yoga is, that although we have, uncontrolled senses, but still by the practice of bhakti yoga, then we become purified of all of these uncontrolled senses. Our senses become controlled, and in this way, we attain the highest perfection, going back to the spiritual world. So I will stop there now, and if you'd like to contribute, you're most welcome to do so. Always like to start with Paramatma Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for that wonderful class. Namaji, as you mentioned, we need to control our senses, and that's the way to do it is through devotional service, chanting and hearing. And Namaji, I also want to ask you, you said sometimes we go offline, but isn't they say that if you do, you it's an offense to your Guru Maharaj also, or he takes some of that karma?
Yeah, you see, sometimes everyone in this world is not perfect. We came here because of anarthas in our hearts, and we are in the process. We are practicing devotional service, right? And sometimes we may not, do something premeditated. It may just come about, and in this way, someone may break the principles, or someone may do something very, harsh, or that may hurt someone. So in this way, Krishna doesn't sort of, what should I say, put someone in hell for that. No, it's just that it's an accidental fall down, right? The devotee has an accidental fall down, and he can come back. He can come back on the path again and continue his devotional service. So when we do something, say breaking one of the principles or something, there's no atonement. We don't believe in atonement. What we do, what's the recommended, and Prabhupada says, is just continue chanting, continue chanting your rounds, and continue, your practice of devotional service. So in this way, we actually become purified. So it is, if a person has premeditated and done something, then obviously the spiritual master suffers. But if it is an accidental fall down, then no.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Charmaine, Denson, anything?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for a lovely class. No questions. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Sarika Mataji says there's nothing from her. There's 2 messages in the chat. Oh, okay. So if you don't have any other thing to say, you don't have any contributions, or you don't have any questions.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Sound check.
Krishna, Krishna. Haribol, is the sound clear?
Yes, Mataji, you're back now. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhescha kripasindhibhevcha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dear devotees, I like to keep my classes short because of attention span. The attention span of the individuals are not very long, so short classes are better. So thank you very much. Thank you, Sadhika Mataji, and thank you to all the devotees for allowing me to present this class. And we'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Thank you, dear Mataji. Dandava pranam.
Hare
All.
Krishna.
Nah.